Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, where did we leave off here? We read all the way up to chapter 2, text 5 or something like that. Yeah, we did 5. So we're starting on 6. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, translations and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Canto 2, Adi Lila, chapter 2, Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're trying to have class here. Okay, so text 6. Brahma Atma Bhagavan Anuvadatina Anga Prabha Amsha Swarupatina Videya China. Impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead are 3 subjects, and the glowing effulgence, the partial manifestation, and the original form are their 3 respective predicates. Wow, this is very interesting. 6. Chapter 2, text 6. So he's saying that Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are the 3 subjects. And then the glowing effulgence, because Brahman is the glowing effulgence, Paramatma is the partial manifestation, and Bhagavan is the original form. Okay, text 7. Anuvada age pache videya stapana seyarta kahi shuna shastra vivarana. Do you want to read?
A predicate always follows its subject. Now I shall explain the meaning of this verse according to the revealed scriptures.
Okay. Text 8. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Vishnu Paratattva Purna Jnana Purnananda Parama Mahatva. Pragati.
Krishna, the original form of the personality of Godhead, is the summum bonum of all pervading Vishnu. He is all perfect knowledge and all perfect bliss. He is the supreme transcendence.
Jai Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. Text 9. Nanda Sutta Baliyanre Bhagavate Gai Se Krishna Avatirna Chaitanya Gosai. Divya, would you like to read it? Text 9.
Yes, thank you so much. He whom Srimad Bhagavatam describes as the son of Nanda Maharaj has descended to earth as Lord Chaitanya. According to the rules of rhetorical arrangement for efficient composition in literature, a subject should be mentioned before its predicate. The Vedic literature frequently mentions Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and therefore these 3 terms are widely known as the subjects of transcendental understanding. But it is not widely known that what is approached as the impersonal Brahman is the effulgence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental body, nor is it widely known that the Supersoul, or Paramatma, is only a partial representation of Lord Chaitanya, who is identical with Bhagavan himself. Therefore, the descriptions of Brahman as the effulgence of Lord Chaitanya and Paramatma as his partial representation, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as identical with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, must be verified by evidence from authoritative Vedic literatures. The author wants to establish first that the essence of the Vedas is the Vishnu Tattva, the absolute truth, Vishnu, the all-pervading Godhead. The Vishnu Tattva has different categories, of which the highest is Lord Krishna, the ultimate Vishnu Tattva, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita and throughout the Vedic literature. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is described as Nanda Sutta, the son of King Nanda. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that Nanda Sutta has again appeared as Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as he bases this statement on his understanding that the Vedic literature concludes there is no difference between Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This the author will approve. If it is thus proved that Sri Krishna is the origin of all tattvas, truths, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and that there is no difference between Sri Krishna and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it will not be difficult to understand that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also the same origin of all tattvas, the same absolute truth, as he is revealed to students of different realizations, is called Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan.
Jai. Yeah. So since Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, then Krishna's Kaviraj is saying that he is the same Nanda Sutta, same son of Nanda Maharaj, and he is the origin of Brahman and Paramatma. Text 10. Prakasha Visheshe Tenya Dare Tina Nama Brahma Paramatma Ada Swayam Bhagavan. In terms of his various manifestations, he is known in three features called the impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and the original personality of Godhead. So, yeah, Krishna's Kaviraj and Srila Prabhupada also are going to be deliberating on this point a bit because it's actually quite a bold statement, at that time, because this is not so long after the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. And, Krishna's Kaviraj is coming right out here and saying, Lord Chaitanya is the supreme original Swayam Bhagavan, So they need to really explain this in some depth and with Shastra references and logic and so forth. So, purport. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained the word Bhagavan in his Bhagavat Sandarbha. The personality of Godhead, being full of all conceivable and inconceivable potencies, is the absolute supreme whole. Impersonal Brahman is a partial manifestation of the absolute truth, realized in the absence of such complete potencies. The first syllable of the word Bhagavan is Bha, which means sustainer and protector. The next letter, Ga, means leader, pusher, and creator. Va means dwelling. All living beings dwell in the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord dwells within the heart of every living being. Combining all these concepts, the word Bhagavan carries the import of inconceivable potency in knowledge, energy, strength, opulence, power, and influence, devoid of all varieties of inferiority. Without such inconceivable potencies, one cannot fully sustain or protect. Our modern civilization is sustained by scientific arrangements devised by many great scientific brains. We can just imagine, therefore, the gigantic brain whose arrangements sustain the gravity of the unlimited number of planets and satellites, and who creates the unlimited space in which they float. If one considers the intelligence needed to orbit man-made satellites, one cannot be fooled into thinking that there is not a gigantic intelligence responsible for the arrangements of the various planetary systems. There is no reason to believe that all the gigantic planets float in space without the superior arrangement of superior intelligence. This subject is clearly dealt with in the Bhagavad Gita 15:13, where the personality of Godhead says, I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. Were the planets not held in the grip of the personality of Godhead, they would all scatter like dust in the air. Modern scientists can only impractically explain this inconceivable strength of the personality of Godhead. The potencies of the syllables Bha, Ga, and Va apply in terms of many different meanings. Through his different potent agents, the Lord protects and sustains everything, but he himself personally protects and sustains only his devotees. Just as a king personally sustains and protects his own children, while entrusting the protection and sustenance of the state to various administrative agents. The Lord is the leader of his devotees, as we learn in the Bhagavad Gita, which mentions that the personality of Godhead personally instructs his loving devotees how to make certain progress on the path of devotion, and thus surely approach the kingdom of God. The Lord is also the recipient of all the adoration offered by his devotees, for whom he is the objective and the goal. For his devotees, the Lord creates a favorable condition for developing a sense of transcendental love of Godhead. Sometimes he does this by taking away a devotee's material attachments by force and baffling all his material protective agents, for thus the devotee must completely depend on the Lord's protection. In this way, the Lord proves himself the leader of his devotees. The Lord is not directly attached to the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world. for he is eternally busy in the enjoyment of transcendental bliss with paraphernalia composed of his internal potencies. Yet as the initiator of the material energy, as well as the marginal potency, the living beings, he expands himself as the Purusha avatars, who are invested with potencies similar to his. The Purusha avatars are also in the category of Bhagavat Tattva, because each and every one of them is identical with the original form of the personality of Godhead. The living entities are his infinitesimal particles and are qualitatively one with him. They are sent into this material world for material enjoyment, to fulfill their desires to be independent individuals, but still they are subject to the supreme will of the Lord. The Lord deputes himself in the state of supersoul to supervise the arrangements for such material enjoyment. The example of a temporary fair is quite appropriate in this connection. If the citizens of a state assemble in a fair to enjoy for a short period, the government deputes a special officer to supervise it. Such an officer is invested with all governmental power, and therefore he is identical with the government. When the fair is over, there is no need for such an officer, and he returns home. The Paramatma is compared to such an officer. The living beings are not all in all. They are undoubtedly parts of the Supreme Lord and are qualitatively one with him, yet they are subject to his control. Thus they are never equal to the Lord or one with him. The Lord who associates with the living beings is the Paramatma, or Supreme Living Being. No one therefore should view the tiny living beings and Supreme Living Being to be on an equal level. The all-pervading truth that exists eternally during the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material world, and in which the living beings rest in trance, is called the impersonal Brahman. So, it was nice here in this purport how Krishna's, Srila Prabhupada is making a distinction between the Lord's relationship with his devotees and with everybody who's not a devotee, basically. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Says that he's the leader of the devotees. It says that the Lord protects and sustains everything, but he himself personally protects and sustains only his devotees. Just as a king takes care of his own children, but he entrusts other administrative agents to take care of the other citizens. So the devotees are like Krishna's own children. He takes personal care of us, and everybody else, non-devotees, are all like the citizens that he puts under the charge of Paramatma, or the three modes of nature and the laws of karma and all these, systems that he has in place for controlling the material world. So, yeah. And then he says that the Lord, he always creates a favorable condition for us to develop our love for him. And sometimes that favorable condition is that he takes away all of our material attachments by force, which we may not think is very favorable at all. But it's very favorable for developing our love for Krishna, because it forces us to take shelter of him and depend on him. Yeah, he says, or baffling all our material protective agents. So all the other things that we used to think were protecting us, right? Like families or husbands or money or home or whatever. Krishna just shows us that, nope, they cannot protect you. So, yeah, it's nice. And then the devotee must completely depend on the Lord's protection. And in this way, the Lord proves himself to be the leader of his devotees. Jai Shri Krishna. Destroys your material life and all of your material sources of security. You do. Anyways, yeah. And then I also like this analogy of the fair. Did you get that one?
Yeah.
That it's like if there's a fair, so like there's Texas State Fair. I just rode my bicycle through the fairgrounds today on the way back from the dentist. It's all those fairgrounds, right, where they have all the livestock and the games and the rides and the this and that, and exhibitions and things. So like right now nobody's there, it's just people there doing like maintenance on the buildings and facilities. But when the fair is there, then the government, because it's a state fair, so the state employs special officers, security guards, police force, medics, the state puts a lot of official people there in the fair to look after the people and make sure everything is running as it should. And then after a day or a few days, a weekend, or even a week, but then everybody goes home, they don't go to the fairgrounds anymore. So in the same way, when we're here in the material world, then Krishna sends his the super soul basically to supervise us here in the fair. This material world is the fair. So the whole thing is temporary. Right. So when there's no fair going on, it's just land and parking lots and there's nothing there. Right. It's just a field or something. And then when the fair is like this whole city just comes up, with temporary buildings and tents and, rides and, it's like a mini city that just manifests. So this material world is manifest and unmanifest, just like the fair is manifest and unmanifest. And while it's manifest, then Krishna sends some officers, his representatives here, to take care and make sure that everything is going according to his will. And then after that, he goes home. So yeah, but that was interesting. And then he says, the living beings are not all in all, because they are subject to his control. So sometimes we think, I do what I want, I live my life the way I choose, I decide on what I'm going to study, I decide on my career, I decide who my friends are, I decide on my diet, I decide on choose my lifestyle, my, whatever. We think that we're so independent in all of our choices. But yeah, ultimately it's up to Krishna whether he's going to sanction and allow whatever we do. So yeah, and that Supreme Lord who's expounding himself as Paramatma, who's everything, that's Lord Caitanya. That's what he's saying here. Okay, now he quotes a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Vadanti tat vavidas tatvam yajnanam advayam Brahmeti paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdyate. Oh, Lavanga, would you like to read? We're on Adi Lila chapter 2, text 11.
Oh, chapter 2, okay. I recognize the verse, but I was looking for it when you chanted it, but I was looking for the number. Yes, okay. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge and is called impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead. Purport. This Sanskrit verse appears as the 11th verse of the first canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Sutta Goswami answers the questions of the sages headed by Shaunaka Rishi concerning the essence of scriptural injunctions. Tattva Vidya refers to persons who have knowledge of the absolute truth. They can certainly understand knowledge without duality because they are on the spiritual platform. The absolute truth is known sometimes as Brahman, sometimes as Paramatma, and sometimes as Bhagavan. Persons who are in knowledge of the truth know that one who tries to approach the absolute simply by mental speculation will ultimately realize the impersonal Brahman, and one who tries to approach the absolute through yoga practice will be able to realize Paramatma. But one who has complete knowledge and spiritual understanding realizes the spiritual form of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Devotees of the personality of Godhead know that Shri Krishna, the son of the king of Braj, is the absolute truth. They do not discriminate between Shri Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. One who wants to separate the Lord's absolute name, form, and qualities from the Lord himself must be understood to be lacking in absolute knowledge. A pure devotee knows that when he chants the transcendental name Krishna, Shri Krishna is present as transcendental sound. He therefore chants with full respect and veneration. When he sees the forms of Shri Krishna, he does not see anything different from the Lord. If one sees otherwise, he must be considered untrained in absolute knowledge. The lack of absolute knowledge is called Maya. One who is not Krishna conscious is ruled by the spell of Maya, under the control of a duality in knowledge. In the absolute, all manifestations of the Supreme are non-dual. Just as the multifarious forms of Vishnu, the controller of Maya, are non-dual. Empiric philosophers who pursue the impersonal Brahman accept only the knowledge that the personality of the living entity is not different from the personality of the Supreme Lord. And mystic yogis who try to locate the Paramatma accept only the knowledge that the pure soul is not different from the supersoul. The absolute conception of a pure devotee, however, includes all others. A devotee does not see anything except its relationship with Krishna, and therefore his realization is the most perfect of all.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so here it's saying that Krishna is the absolute truth, and the absolute truth includes everything. There's nothing that's separate from the absolute truth. And so the situation is non-duality, right? Tattvam yajnanam advayam. Advayam. So dvayam means two, or duality, and advayam means non-dual. So yeah, learned transcendentalists know this truth, say that it is non-dual knowledge. So there's no two things, there's only one thing in all existence, and that is Krishna. And that same Krishna is Lord Chaitanya. Okay. Text 12. Anhara Angera Shuddha Kirana Mandala Upanishad Kahe Tanre Brahma Sunir Mala. Kritika?
All transcendent, impersonal Brahman is the realm of the glowing effulgence of the same Supreme Person. Three mantras of the Mundaka Upanishad give information regarding the bodily effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They state,
You can skip this out.
okay, in this spiritual realm, beyond the material covering, it is the unlimited Brahman effulgence, which is free from material contamination. That effulgent white light is understood by transcendentalists to be the light of all lights. In that realm, there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, fire, or electricity for illumination. Indeed, whatever illumination appears in the material world is only a reflection of that supreme illumination. That Brahman is in front and in back, in north, south, east, and west, and also overhead and below. In other words, that supreme Brahman effulgence spreads throughout both the material and spiritual skies.
Yeah, I always thought this interesting. So, when the sun rises in the morning and that light comes in the sky and lights up the whole world, that's actually part of the Brahman effulgence. It's not just that there's some glowing orb there in the sky that emits light, but it says that it's a reflection of the, indeed, whatever illumination appears in the material world is only a reflection of that supreme illumination. Yeah, so it's like that. The supreme Brahman effulgence spreads throughout both the material and spiritual skies. That's why, the first line of the Gayatri Mantra is offering obeisances to the sun, because the sun is none different from Krishna. Because it's Krishna's energy, it's Krishna's Brahman effulgence. Text 13. Charma chakshe deke yaiche surya nirvishesha jnana marge laite nare krishnera vishesha. Pragati?
As with the naked eye, one cannot know the sun except as a glowing substance. Merely by philosophical speculation, one cannot understand Lord Krishna's transcendental varieties.
Yeah. Yeah, Prabhupada explains how on the sun there's actually, it's like any other planet. That there's a sun god, there are there are people there, and cities and schools and hospitals, and there's like everything going on there, just that it's different than what it is here.
Elements.
Yeah, like that movie Elementals. There's people made out of fire, and they're very fiery. Okay, text 14. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanta koti Kotishvashesha Vasudhadi Vibhutibhinam Tad Brahmanishkalamanantamashesha Bhutam Govindamadi Purusham Tama Divya?
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. This verse appears in the Brahma Samhita 5.40. Each and every one of the countless universes is full of innumerable planets with different constitutions and atmospheres. All these come from the unlimited non-dual Brahman, or complete whole, which exists in absolute knowledge. The origin of that unlimited Brahman effulgence is the transcendental body of Govinda, who is offered respectful obeisances as the original and supreme personality of Godhead.
Right. Okay. Let's go to text 15. Koti koti brahmandeye brahmare vibhuti se brahma govindera haya angakanti. Anubanga? Text 15.
Lord Brahma said, the opulences of the impersonal Brahman spread throughout the millions and millions of. Sorry. Hold on, my phone changed the text. Okay. Lord Brahma said, the opulences of the impersonal Brahman spread throughout the millions and millions of universes. That Brahman is but the bodily effulgence of Govinda.
Okay, yeah, so he quoted Brahma Samhita as an evidence, and now he's Krishna's Kaviraj is explaining in his own words. Text 16. Se Govinda bhajyami tehan morapati tanhara prasade morahaya srishti shakti. I worship Govinda, he is my Lord. Only by his grace am I empowered to create the universe. Purport. Although the sun is situated far away from other planets, its rays sustain and maintain them all. Indeed, the sun diffuses its heat and light all over the universe. Similarly, the Supreme Sun, Govinda, diffuses his heat and light everywhere in the form of his different potencies. The sun's heat and light are non-different from the sun. In the same way, the unlimited potencies of Govinda are non-different from Govinda himself. Therefore, the all-pervasive Brahman is the all-pervasive Govinda. The Bhagavad Gita 14:27 clearly mentions that the impersonal Brahman is dependent upon Govinda. That is the real conception of absolute knowledge. It doesn't say who spoke this. Oh, it's Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma is saying this. Yeah, basically that's what's happening, is that Krishna's Kaviraj quotes Brahma Samhita, which is Lord Brahma saying, I worship Govinda. And then he's literally just paraphrasing it, right? Saying that the impersonal Brahman is spread through all the universes. This is the bodily effulgence of Govinda. And I worship that Govinda. He is my Lord who has empowered me. So, tamaham bhajami. It's so interesting. It's almost like, see, because see what's happening. It's very interesting, Caitanya Charitamrita, because Krishna's Kaviraj is quoting a Sanskrit verse, but he's writing it in a Bengali script. So for a Bengali person, when they read this Bengali script, they don't understand it because it's Bengali letters, but the words are Sanskrit words. So it's just like us reading Yasya, Prabha, Prabha, we can read it, we can pronounce it, but we don't know what it means. So we need the translation. So you see Krishna's Kaviraj, if you just take the verses of the book without the purports or without the English translations, it's like a Sanskrit verse in Bengali letters, and then Krishna's Kaviraj translates it. He basically explains that in Bengali what the verse means that he just quoted. That's what he's basically translating the verse. Isn't that interesting? So for us, it just seems redundant because Prabhupada translates the Sanskrit into English, and he also translates the Bengali translation into English. So for us, it's like, why is he just saying the same exact thing again? Lavanga?
Yeah, let me just make sure I follow you. So Krishnadas Kaviraj is seeing the Sanskrit and Bengali like letters. And then he's translating that into like a Bengali,
Yeah.
basically. Okay, and all right, I got you.
Yeah, so they're both in Bengali letters, but the first like text 14 is Sanskrit words in Bengali script. So the Bengalis can read it, but they don't know what it means, right? And then text 15 and 16 are Bengali words in Bengali script saying exactly what the Sanskrit just said. Right? It's a Bengali translation.
And then Prabhupada is translating that.
And Prabhupada translates both the Sanskrit written in Bengali. Well, first Prabhupada takes the Sanskrit written in Bengali and turns it in and puts it in Roman like transliteration so that we can read the Sanskrit. And then he translates that. And then he also translates the Bengali translation into English Roman script so we can read that too. And he also translates that. Lavanga, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, because this is reminding me. I I heard that one of the original definitions of the word militia is one who does not know Sanskrit. And so, Krishnadas Kaviraj, I never thought about it, but he actually had to know Sanskrit to do all this.
Yeah,
to put it in
Krishnadas
Bengali.
Kaviraj was a scholar. That's why he was called Kaviraj. I learned today that who gave him that title Kaviraj was Jiva Goswami. Yeah, Jiva Goswami gave him the name Kaviraj. So, yeah. So the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita is in Bengali. Krishnadas Kaviraj didn't include any Sanskrit in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's all written in Bengali. But he just takes the Sanskrit and writes them in Bengali. Okay, let's go ahead. Text 17. Munayo Vatavasana Shramana Urdvamantina Brahmakyam Dhamate Yanti Shanta Sanyasino Malaha. Well, I take that back. It's not that there's not Sanskrit. There is Sanskrit. It's just not written in Sanskrit Devanagari. It's written in Bengali letters. Okay, who's reading? Kritika?
Naked saints and sannyasis who undergo severe physical penances, who can raise the semen to the brain, and who are completely equipoised in Brahman, can live in the realm known as Brahmaloka. Purport. In this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Vata Vasana refers to mendicants who do not care about anything material, including clothing, but who depend wholly on nature. Such sages do not cover their bodies even in severe winter or scorching sunshine. They take great pains not to avoid any kind of bodily suffering, and they live by begging from door to door. They never discharge their semen either knowingly or unknowingly. By such celibacy, they are able to raise the semen to the brain. Thus, they become most intelligent and develop very sharp memories. Their minds are never disturbed or diverted from contemplation on absolute truth, nor are they ever contaminated by desire for material enjoyment. By practicing austerities under strict discipline, such mendicants attain a neutral state transcendental to the modes of nature and merge into the impersonal Brahman.
Yeah, so it says Vata Vasana. Vata means air and Vasana means clothes. They're clothed only by the air. So Prabhupada translates that naked. That's a way of saying they're naked. There's another place in Bhagavatam that says that they're clothed by the 10 directions. It also means naked. So, yeah. So these sages, yeah, they're living very austerely. Even in the winter, they don't wear clothes. It says they take great pains not to avoid any kind of bodily suffering. In other words, they very happily accept, they welcome bodily suffering. And yeah, but then and by their austerities, by their concentration, by their absence of material attachment or desires, they attain Brahmaloka. Okay. or you could say, Brahmaloka or Brahman. Prabhupada, in the purport, Prabhupada says they merge into the impersonal Brahman. So what's interesting is that when Krishna kills a demon, they also go to the Brahman. Right? When Krishna kills Kamsa or demons like that, they go to Brahman. And so there's a verse there in the Srimad Bhagavatam that says that, well, if even the demons go to Brahman, then it can't be a very lofty destination. Like who wants to go where the demons, I mean, just the demons go there. Like there must be a lot of higher levels than that, which of course there are. The Vaikunthas, Goloka. Text 18.
But Ravana and those demons, they were Jai Vijay.
Yeah, so the
So the-
situation's different. But generally the demons that Krishna would kill, they would go to,
All the other demons, like
yeah. Atmantaryami, sorry. Atmantaryami yanre yoga shastre kaya seha govindera amsha vibhuti haya. It's me. He who is described in the Yoga Shastras as the indwelling supersoul, Atma Antaryami, is also a plenary portion of Govinda's personal expansion. Okay, so we had several verses there about Brahman, and now we're going to talk about Paramatma. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is by nature joyful. His enjoyment or pastimes are completely transcendental. He is in the fourth dimension of existence. For although the material world is measured by the limitations of length, breadth, and height, the Supreme Lord is completely unlimited in his body, form, and existence. He is not personally attached to any of the affairs within this material cosmos. The material world is created by the expansion of his Purusha avatars, who direct the aggregate material energy and all the conditioned souls. By understanding the three expansions of the Purusha, a living entity can transcend the position of knowing only the 24 elements of the material world. One of the expansions of Mahavishnu is Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, the supersoul within every living entity. As the supersoul of the total aggregate of living entities, or the second Purusha, he is known as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. As the creator or original cause of innumerable universes, or the first Purusha, who is lying in the causal ocean, he is called Mahavishnu. The three Purushas direct the affairs of the material world. The authorized scriptures direct the individual souls to revive their relationship with the supersoul. Indeed, the system of yoga is the process of transcending the influence of the material elements by establishing a connection with the Purusha known as Paramatma. One who has thoroughly studied the intricacies of creation can know very easily that this Paramatma is the plenary portion of the Supreme Being, Sri Krishna. So Paramatma is one of the Purusha avatars that first there's Mahavishnu, then there's Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, then there's Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, and that Kshirodakshaya Vishnu expands to be the super soul. It's a plenary portion of the expansion. He's an expansion of expansion of expansion of expansion of Krishna. Text 19. Ananta spatike yaiche eka surya bhasi taiche jive govindera amshe prakashe. Good. Oh, probably didn't read.
as the one sun appears reflected in countless jewels, so Govinda manifests himself as Paramatma in the hearts of all living beings. The sun is situated in a specific location but is reflected in countless jewels and appears in innumerable localized aspects. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although eternally present in his transcendental abode, Goloka Vrindavan, is reflected in everyone's heart as the Supersoul. In the Upanishads, it is said that the Jiva, living entity, and the Paramatma, Supersoul, are like two birds sitting in the same tree. The Supersoul engages the living being in executing fruitive work as a result of his deeds in the past, but the Paramatma has nothing to do with such engagements. As soon as the living being ceases to act in terms of fruitive work and takes to the service of the Lord, the Paramatma, coming to know of his supremacy, he is immediately freed from all designations, and in that pure state he enters the kingdom of God known as Vaikuntha. The Paramatma or Supersoul, the guide of the individual living beings, does not take part in fulfilling the desires of the living being, but he arranges for their fulfillment by material nature. As soon as an individual soul becomes conscious of his eternal relationship with the super soul and looks only toward him, he at once becomes free from the entanglements of material enjoyment. Christian philosophers who do not believe in the law of karma but put forward the argument that it is absurd to say one must accept the results of past deeds of which he has no consciousness. A criminal is first reminded of his misdeeds by witness in a law court, and then he is punished. If that is complete forgetfulness, why should a person be punished for his past misdeeds? The conception of the Paramatma is an invincible answer to these fallacious arguments. The Paramatma is the witness of the past activities of the individual living being. A man who a man may not remember what he has done in his childhood, but his father, who has seen him grow through different stages of development, certainly remembers. Similarly, the living being undergoes many changes of body through many lives, but the super soul is always with him and remembers all his activities despite his evolution through different bodies.
So the super soul sees everything. I like this analogy of the jewels.
Yeah.
That it's like the sun is reflected in the facets, many different facets of the jewels. So Krishna is reflected in the hearts of all living beings. Sweet.
It felt so good just by knowing it. Okay. Krishna is the reflection. Like Krishna is there and it's the reflection here.
Yeah. Okay, text 20. Atava bahunaitena kim gyatena tavarjuna vishta byaham idam kritsnam ekam shena stito jagat. Is it back to you then, Kritika?
Yeah. The personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna said, "What more shall I say to you? I live throughout this cosmic manifestation merely by my single plenary portion." Purport. Describing his own potencies to Arjuna, the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna spoke this verse of Bhagavad Gita 10.42. Oh wow. By single plenary portion, he lives throughout the cosmic manifestation.
Yeah. The translation here is quite different from the one in Bhagavad Gita. I mean, it means the same thing, but it's just, it says something like, by a single fragmental portion of myself, I pervade and maintain this entire manifestation. Something like that. Okay, yeah, Krishna is everywhere. Text 21. Tami mamaham majam sharira bhajam ridi dishtitamatma kalpitanam pratidvishamiva naikadarkam ekam samadhigatosmi viduta beda moha. Back to you, Pragati.
Grandfather Bhishma said, "As the one sun appears differently situated to different seers, so also do you, the unborn, appear differently represented as the Paramatma in every living being. But when a seer knows himself to be one of your own servitors, no longer does he maintain such duality. Thus, I am now able to comprehend your eternal forms, knowing well the Paramatma to be only your plenary portion." Purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.42 was spoken by Bhishma Dev, the grandfather of the Kurus. When he was lying on a bed of arrows at the last stage of his life, Arjuna, Krishna, and numberless friends, admirers, relatives, and sages had gathered on the scene as Maharaj Yudhishthir took moral and religious instructions from the dying Bhishma. Just as the final moment arrived for him, Bhishma spoke this verse while looking at Lord Krishna. Just as the one sun is the object of vision of many different persons, so the one partial representation of Lord Krishna who lives in the heart of every living entity as the Paramatma is a variously perceived object. one who comes intimately in touch with Lord Krishna by engaging in his eternal service sees the Supersoul as the localized partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhishma knew the Supersoul to be a partial expansion of Lord Krishna, whom he understood to be the Supreme, unborn, transcendental form.
Yeah. So again, it's this analogy of the sun. The one sun appears differently situated, so Krishna also becomes the Paramatma in everyone's heart. Okay, text 22. Sita Govinda Sakshat Chaitanya Gosai Jivanistarite Aiche Dayalu Aranai. Divya?
That Govinda personally appears as Chaitanya Goswami. No other Lord is as merciful in delivering the fallen souls. Having described Govinda in terms of his Brahman and Paramatma features, now the author of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita advances his argument to prove that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the identical personality, the same Lord Sri Krishna in the garb of a devotee of Sri Krishna, descended to this mortal world to reclaim the fallen human beings who had misunderstood the personality of Godhead even after the explanation of the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, directly instructed that the Supreme is a person, that the impersonal Brahman is his glowing effulgence, and that the Paramatma is his partial representation. All men were therefore advised to follow the path of Sri Krishna, leaving aside all mundane isms. Offenders misunderstood this instruction, however, because of their poor fund of knowledge. Thus, by his causeless, unlimited mercy, Sri Krishna came again as Sri Chaitanya Gosai. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita most emphatically stresses that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna himself. He is not an expansion of the Prakash or Vilas forms of Sri Krishna. He is the Swayam Rupa, Govinda, apart from the relevant scriptural evidence forwarded by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. There are innumerable other scriptural statements regarding Lord Chaitanya's being the Supreme Lord himself. The following examples may be cited. One from the Chaitanya Upanishad 5, Gaura Sarvatma Mahapurusho Mahatma Mahayogi Trigunatita Sattvarupo Bhaktim Loke Kashyati. Lord Gaura, who is the all-pervading supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears as a great saint and powerful mystic who is above the three modes of nature and is the emblem of transcendental activity. He decimates the cult of devotion throughout the world. 2. From the Shvetavatara Upanishad 6.7 and 3.12, O Supreme Lord, you are the Supreme Maheshwara, the worshipable deity of all the demigods and the Supreme Lord of all lords. You are the controller of all controllers, the personality of Godhead, the Lord of everything worshipable. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Mahaprabhu, who decimates transcendental enlightenment just to be in touch. Sorry?
Disseminates.
Oh, disseminates, sorry. Disseminates transcendental enlightenment. Just to be in touch with him is to be in contact with the indestructible Brahmajyoti. 3. From the Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.3, one who sees that golden-colored personality of Godhead, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Actor, who is the source of the Supreme Brahman, is liberated. 4. From Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.33 to 34 and 7.9.38, we offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of him, the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He destroys insults to his devotees. He removes the distresses of his devotees and satisfies their desires. He, the abode of all holy places and the shelter of all sages, is worshipable by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. He is the boat of the demigods for crossing the ocean of birth and death. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He left his householder life, leaving aside his eternal consort, whom even the denizens of heaven adore. He went into the forest to deliver the fallen souls, who are put into illusion by material energy. Prahlad said, "My Lord, you kill all the enemies of the world in your multifarious incarnations in the families of men, animals, demigods, rishis, aquatics, and so on. Thus you illuminate the world with transcendental knowledge. In the age of Kali, O Mahapurusha, you sometimes appear in a covered incarnation. Therefore, you are known as Triyuga, one who appears in only 3 yugas." 5. From the Krishna Yamala Tantra, Punya Kshetra Navadvipe Bhavishyami Sachi Sutta, I shall appear in the holy land of Navadvip as the son of Sachi Devi. 6. From the Vayu Purana, in the age of Kali, when the Sankirtan movement is inaugurated, I shall descend as the son of Sachi Devi. 7. From the Brahma Yamala Tantra, sometimes I personally appear on the surface of the world in the garb of a devotee. Specifically, I appear as the son of Sachi in Kali Yuga to start the Sankirtan movement. 8. From the Ananta Samhita, the Supreme Person, Sri Krishna himself, who is the life of Sri Radharani and is the Lord of the universe in creation, maintenance, and annihilation, appears as Gora, O Maheshwari.
Jai. So if anybody here or out there was not sure whether Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you've got 8 different scriptural references in addition to Caitanya Charitamrita, proving that he is. So this is something that Krishna's Kaviraj is not just making up and trying to convince us to believe, but it's actually a fact. Okay, very good. Thank you. That was a lot of reading there, Divya. You did well. Text 23. Paravyome te vaishe narayana nama Sadaishvarya Purna Lakshmi Kanta Bhagavan. Lavanga?
Yeah. Lord Narayan, who dominates the transcendental world, is full in 6 opulences. He is the personality of Godhead, the Lord of the goddess of fortune.
Veda Bhagavata Upanishad Agama Purna Tattva Yanreka He Nahi Yanra Sama. The personality of Godhead is he who is described as the absolute whole in the Vedas, Bhagavatam, Upanishads, and other transcendental literatures. No one is equal to him. Purport. There are innumerable authoritative statements in the Vedas regarding the personal feature of the absolute truth. Some of them are as follows. Now we're going to hear some more Shastric references. 1. From the Rik Samhita. Tadvishno paramam param sada pashyanti surayaha diviva chakshur atatam. The personality of Godhead Vishnu is the absolute truth, whose lotus feet all the demigods are always eager to see. Like the sun god, he pervades everything by the rays of his energy. He appears impersonal to imperfect eyes. 2. From the Narayana Tarva Shira Upanishad. Narayanad eva samutpadyante, Narayanat pravartante, Narayanat praliyante, atanitya Narayanaha. Narayana evedam sarvam, yat bhutam, yat cha bhavyam, shudho devo eko, Narayano na dvitiyo sti kashchit. It is from Narayan only that everything is generated, by him only that everything is maintained, and in him only that everything is annihilated. Therefore Narayan is eternally existing. Everything that exists now or will be created in the future is nothing but Narayan, who is the unadulterated deity. There is only Narayan and nothing else. 3. From the Narayan Upanishad 1.4. Yata prasuta jagata prasuti. Narayan is the source from whom all the universes emanate. From the Hayashirsha Pancharatra, Paramatma Harir Devaha, Hari is the Supreme Lord. From the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.34.35, Narayana Bidhanasya Brahmana Paramatmanaha Nishtam Arhatano Vaktum Yo Yuyam Hi Brahmavitama. O best of the Brahmanas, please tell us the position of Narayan, who is also known as Brahman and Paramatma. O king, know him who is causeless and yet is the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. He exists in the three states of consciousness, namely waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, as well as beyond them. He enlivens the body, the senses, the breath of life, and the heart, and thus they move. Know him to be the supreme. Oh, it's 5:05 already. All right. Well, we're hearing a lot about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his different features, and yeah, this is all very important to establish the tattva. Okay, any thoughts on these verses that we read today? Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ki Jai. Not just an incarnation, but he is Sri Krishna himself, the original absolute truth. Lavanga.
I was just thinking, because a few times you've pointed out that some of the verses that are mentioned here, also, that are also in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, they're translated a little bit differently. Our Prabhupada translated them a little bit differently. And I was thinking how like interesting that is, because Prabhupada did all of it, Gita, Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. But
Yeah.
I was appreciating how, I guess, how the like how much is actually in that verse that you can like say it like a little bit differently this way and that way. And
Yeah.
I had just read in Lilamrita that originally Prabhupada had a Bhagavad Gita that was like 3 volumes and it was stolen before he came to the US.
Yeah.
So really, just seeing how, he did this with Gita and then Bhagavatam and then some of the same verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita but translated them differently. It shows like really how rich it is,
Yeah. Yeah, the Sanskrit words all have so many like nuances of meaning and alternative meanings and things. So yeah, there's some places where Prabhupada translates a verse, or he takes a line from a verse from Bhagavad Gita or somewhere else, and he translates it in a way that, oh, I never knew that it meant that, So it's very interesting. I mean, basically the translations are, I mean, they're not verbatim the same, but the general meaning is there. But it just shows that, Prabhupada, he didn't go back and be like, oh, this is a Bhagavad Gita verse, let me see how I translate it in the Bhagavad Gita and just use that, so for consistency. He wasn't too concerned about that.
There was
Because
no
also
copy paste.
I mean, Prabhupada was like in a flow, he was just like in an ecstatic trance, just translating, and he was dictating, he wasn't writing, so he wasn't like he was gonna like leave a space there, and fill in the verse later. He was dictating, it was just coming. It's amazing, because usually when we write, it's like we write and we read it over, oh, that doesn't sound good, oh, let me add something to that, oh, let me take that out, and let me move this paragraph down here. Prabhupada did no editing. He was speaking. When you speak, what comes out comes out. And that's it. It was just literally off the top of his head. He's speaking these purports off the top of his head. He's just rattling it out. So, I mean, he may have these verses where he's got, 8 different Shastric references and Sanskrit verses. He may have read the verse and been like, okay, let me find all the references to prove this. And he looked them up and then he spoke it. But most of the purports and translations, it's like he's like in a flow. He's wanting to get this Chaitanya Charitamrita done because this is already almost like towards the end of his manifested pastimes here. He's like getting up in age. He's already had 3 heart attacks in his life. He doesn't know how much longer he has. So yeah, he wasn't being like, oh, let me go look that up. And also in those days, you couldn't just copy paste. It wasn't so easy to just go online and find the BBT translation. Okay, Prabhupada ki jai. It's amazing what Prabhupada did, like, can you imagine? He translated the whole Bhagavad Gita. I think that Bhagavad Gita manuscript got stolen when he was at Radha Damodar.
Yeah,
And
something
then
like
he
that.
came to the US, he wrote again, it got stolen again, didn't it?
Yeah,
When he
because
was-
his apartment got broken into in the US, so I think it was stolen twice.
Yeah, he got it stolen twice, and then he was determined, and then he finally wrote again. I guess Krishna wanted us to get like a final version, in his like Vyasadeva, in his maturity. So yeah, Srila Prabhupada wrote that. And then he went on to do the Bhagavatam, whole Bhagavatam. And then he went on to do the Chaitanya. It's just like monumental. He was nonstop.
Yeah,
Nonstop.
that's why he was like up all night.
Yeah. Imagine
How
all
many
night,
years
every
it would
night.
have taken this big book, which we cannot read.
I know.
Like lifetimes.
We can't even read it in a lifetime. Speak of write it. Yeah.
He did it quite quickly too. I think Caitanya Charitamrita, at least, from what I remember, I think he translated that one in Hawaii or something like that. Wasn't it?
Yeah, his disciples couldn't keep up with him as far as like transcribing it. All they had to do was type it, you know?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
couldn't-
because he made them publish it in 2 months. Like he made them
Right.
do that whole marathon.
Yeah, because he was getting so frustrated with how slow they were. You know, he wanted to see it printed in his lifetime. He was like, at this rate, they're not going to get it done. And if he didn't push it, they wouldn't get it done. And then maybe they wouldn't appreciate the value of it. And then it would take, you know, decades for them to actually do it. Or who knows, maybe it gets lost or stolen. He'd already had his manuscript stolen twice. Maybe what if they would steal, or there would be a fire in the building, it would burn,
No.
you know, or the tapes would get damaged, you know, anything can happen, you know, he
Yeah.
wanted to get it done. Okay, Jai. So grateful to Srila Prabhupada for all this. Without him, we Westerners wouldn't know who Krishna was. Indians wouldn't know properly, and no one would know Lord Chaitanya.
No one would know. Even Indian, being Indian, you don't know about
Indians
freedom.
don't know Lord Chaitanya.
But if Bengal or Kolkata, they might
Only.
see, yeah.
And not
like,
even then,
Chaitanya.
not everybody. Or they misunderstand him. Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya, South India, I had one of my co-resident, I mean my junior resident, his name was Krishna Chaitanya. And that's the name
Was he
that-
Bengali?
No, South Indian, but his name was Krishna Chaitanya. And he was my like immediate junior. So like we were together in like all the postings and all those stuff. So that's how the first time I heard the Chaitanya word was there. I didn't even know this word.
That's how you became a devotee, because you're always saying Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya.
Yeah, he was with me all the time. He was my immediate junior. So like we were like kind of attached. Attached as in like we used to call attache.
Colleagues,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So he had to be with me all the time, and I was really calling his name all the time.
And you would say the whole thing, Krishna Chaitanya?
I used to call him Chaitanya.
Oh, only Chaitanya.
Only Chaitanya.
That's how you ended up becoming a Gaudiya Vaishnav.
Chaitanya, and the first book I got was Life Teachings of Chaitanya.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sweet. Your tongue is very nice.
I never knew about all this stuff.
Okay, well, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you to you.
Let me just see if there's anybody out here.
Yeah.
Oh, we have only Kree Craze saying Hare Krishna Mataji Dandavat Pranam. Delhi Dust didn't come, only Kree Craze. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
He's supposed to come daily.
He's supposed to come daily and get his daily dose of Prabhupada's books to cure his Mayavadi nonsense.
Daily dose Prabhu.
Okay. Jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.